this week's best MMA bets. We're talking UFC Kansas City, Holloway versus Allen. I'm going to give you guys my most confident picks, favorite underdogs, the lock of the week. We'll talk prop/value bets, and we'll finish it out with the parlays. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Let's talk about some of the most confident picks to start things off. The first one is going to be Rafa Garcia. You see him on the screen there. He's around minus 270 as the favorite over Clay Guida, and I really think he has a great shot to win this fight on the scorecards. Clay's a guy in his 40s who has always been a scrappy vet, good wrestling, high output, but I think Rafa Garcia can match him in wrestling, and I also think he can box him up. Even though Clay Guida, high output guy, I don't necessarily see him at, the age of, 40 something, putting the beating on a Garcia, gassing him out and wearing on him later in a fight. Sure, Clay Guida could still time some shots, maybe even mix in some takedowns of his own, but Garcia's nasty in the wrestling department too, especially more on the defensive side. So I see competitive fight. And I see Garcia, the younger fighter at 28, 15-3 record, making improvements to his game, earning the decision win. Opposite career trajectories. Over 2.5 rounds at minus 200 also is a great play. I am feeling even more confident on that minus 200 than Garcia money line. And that minus 200 tag is great. If you're looking at it and you're like, yo, I don't want to bet against Clay Guida, and I understand he's a legend of the game. Minus 200, over 2.5 rounds, dynamite play. Next, most confident pick, Chris Gutierrez. I think it's a great shot to beat Pedro Munhoz. Battle of nasty kickers here, but Gutierrez younger, in his prime, more dangerous, I believe, and kicks harder, I think, too, than Pedro Munhoz, at least more consistently. I feel like Gutierrez's movement is off the charts. He's got the range advantage here. He's on the come up right now and really making a name for himself at 135 pounds, whereas Pedro Munhoz's best days truly are going to be in the rear view mirror, and it's unfortunate because Pedro's a fun guy to watch. He's got a good style, especially with the low kicks, and I mean, Gutierrez matches those nasty low kicks. I just feel as though Gutierrez is going to be able to do more, land with more oomph, and pull off. I really feel like a competitive decision because we know Pedro Munhoz is not someone who goes out there and gets finished. If I'm looking at money line, I would give it the thumbs up. I feel like the money line's the mainstay. I was looking at the knockout prop, and I'm not recommending it. This is like a red type knockout prop, meaning that it's not super likely that it comes through, but more so the reason that I feel I have to bring it up is going to be the value side of the bet. So KO for Chris Gutierrez is plus 450. There is definitely a chance that he continues the knockout streak and pushes it to 3 straight fights and stops Pedro Munhoz. Likelihood of it, I'm going to say, is on more the lower end, but still big plus money. The money line for Gutierrez is where it's at. He's a high confident pick. I think he's going to get it done. I'm very excited to see him go out there and perform. And I really think showcase those dynamic striking skills, man. When I broke it down, I called him a tremendous striker, and I truly believe that he is. Next, most confident picks. I got Bill Algeo over TJ Brown. More consistent performer. Matches the grappling that Brown brings, but definitely a better striker. A little bit more unorthodox and more versatile in the game. I don't know. I feel like TJ Brown is more of a simple fighter, forward pressure, takedowns, whereas Algeo can mix it up kind of everywhere, can do some grappling as well, can strike for sure. Not a huge puncher, but definitely great punch resistance. Good resilient fighter, longer, taller. He's 6 foot. His opponent on the other side, 5'9". I like the range edge for Bill Algeo here. I like him doing more with the striking. Minus 185 is not a crazy tag for Bill Algeo. Over 2.5 rounds is minus 200. I like that less, but I do believe this fight has a fair chance of going long here. I'm going to say, though, the money line at minus 185 would be more calling my name than going at minus 200 for an over 2.5. You got that Rafa Garcia over 2.5, which I'm super confident in. This over 2.5, less so. I like Algeo to win over TJ Brown. I think he's the better fighter, and he gets it done. I'm going to say on the cards, official pick, but at minus 185, that's definitely a considerable play for the majority of you. Now, the next most confident pick, Max Holloway over Arnold Allen. Arnold, unproven Allen. We don't know how Arnold Allen's going to look in the 4th or 5th round. If it's a 3-round fight, I could see him putting a crazy pace on Max and really trying to bring it to him in those first 2 rounds, then maybe fading in the 3rd. But you got 5 rounds. You can't go crazy in the first 2. Max Holloway is not a guy who gets knocked out. We've seen him eat bombs. The chin is off the charts of Max Holloway. His volume is crazy. Gas tank is incredible. Arnold Allen is a very dangerous fighter out of the southpaw stance, and I know notoriously, the notorious especially, has taken southpaws have taken out Max Holloway. I'm saying, like, you look at like a Dustin Poirier or a Conor McGregor. But when you look towards this matchup with Arnold Allen, can we agree the boxing chops, technically speaking, are not near the level of, let's just use Dustin Poirier as the prime example. They're not. He doesn't hit with the same thud. He doesn't box to the same technical level. You see aggressive flurries of hard shots by Arnold Allen, and he is, a quality striker for certain in the kicking department as well. He brings a lot of tools to the arsenal. The difference is I don't believe the 5 rounds is very favorable towards him. And until Max Holloway is losing a non-title fight, not only can I really not pick against him, I can't lack confidence in the pick on Max Holloway. He's been in all the championship fights, and when it's non-title, he's winning. His win over Yair Rodriguez has aged incredibly because Yair looks like he could be the champion of the world at 145 pounds. I think that he puts a victory together over Arnold Allen in a hard-fought 5-round fight where he wins it on the cards. I've said 49-46 all week. I'm not going to stray from that call. I think Holloway lands more punches. I think he gets straights through the guard of Arnold Allen. And I feel like Allen, 3, 4, and 5, you're going to see him survive. He's not going to get finished off, but the pace is going to slow. And he's going to get hit with more strikes. His toughness will keep him in it, and he is a good prospect. I think Arnold Allen has A1 potential, but Max Holloway is still a featherweight all-time great. I'd say he's right there, number 2 best featherweight ever, maybe number 3 if you put Conor in, depends on who you're talking to. Number 1, the likes of Volkanovski. I guess you also got Aldo. All I'm saying is this. You look at Max Holloway, and he's an all-time great. Former champion of the world. Only losses recently have been to Alexander Volkanovski, and every time he loses to Volk, he comes back and he beats his opponents up. And I think he continues with success. Over 4.5 is minus 130. Okay. Decision plus 165. Another one. I like over 4.5 a ton. This fight's going long. I don't see Arnold Allen knocking Max Holloway out, and I don't think there's a huge chance Max Holloway knocks out Arnold Allen. I think over 4.5 is a decent play, but minus 170, Max Holloway money line. That's where it's at. Now, I do want to talk an honorable mention, which I've been adding honorable mentions the past couple weeks. Honorable mention for me is going to be Zach Cummings at minus 220. He is a confident pick. Decision plus 155. I like the minus 220 money line. But the reason he didn't make it to the actual most confident pick section, he said this is probably his retirement fight. He's also coming off a 2.5-year layoff after a back surgery. So with those intangibles now being put into place, I am like, I don't know about that bet. Maybe after weigh-ins, but definitely not now. It was a very confident pick. I was near including it until you hear those things. I can't. So honorable mention. Without some intangibles, just looking at the matchup on paper, I do like Zach Cummings' chances a ton over Ed Herman. Let's jump to my favorite underdogs. I got 2 of my favorite dogs that I'm going to bring up on the screen. Edson Barboza to beat Billy Q and Tanner Bozier to beat Ion Cutelaba. But we'll first talk Edson. He is now a big dog against Billy Q, who's incredibly hittable. Lost to Shane Burgos. We saw how great Edson Barboza looked against Shane Burgos. Granted, yes, styles make fights. It's a different matchup. It's not MMA math. And yeah, Edson's last 2 have been iffy. Giga Chikadze, who's an extremely high-level kickboxer, and at that point had looked nasty as hell inside of the cage. And Bryce Mitchell, who up until running into Ilia Topuria looked unbeatable at 145 pounds. Edson Barboza takes 2 losses to 2 top-of-the-tier prospect contenders. Billy Q is slightly outside of that point. He's a good fighter. Billy Q's got great grappling. He's got good striking, but he's not an A1 wrestler and he's not a big knockout artist. He is a volume puncher. And in the technical Muay Thai, you know the different level. Edson Barboza's kicks are off the charts. I'm feeling like body kicks could land here. I like Edson Barboza. He's plus 150 to win. That's the money line. If you're looking towards the prop side and you're like, yo, I'm on Edson and I want the KO, I do think it could happen. I feel like it could be a body shot. Upwards of plus 485 for Edson Barboza KO prop. Yeah, I like Edson a lot. Let's talk Tanner Bozier, though. Let's not leave him out cold here. Plus 115. I think he puts Cutelaba potentially out cold. Cutelaba is a guy who has great wrestling, but gas tank, very questionable. Overly aggressive at points. And I think that Bozier's boxing is significantly better. I'm just not ever going to be overly sold on Cutelaba again. That Nzechukwu fight really disappointed me. And I learned a lot about Cutelaba in that fight. When it gets difficult, he can find his way out of fights. I don't like that. He's lost 3 in a row. Yes, Cutelaba has some decent wins, but Tanner Bozier on the other side is a more consistent performer. And I feel like at 205, who knows how good Bozier could potentially be. Plus 115 dog money. I got to go dog Bozier, and I'm calling second round knockout. I do think this fight's going under 2.5 as well, which is minus 205. Bozier by KO is sitting at plus 240. I like that plus 200 range money for Bozier to get the KO. I feel like he's going to put it together with his hands. Something about Bozier is I've always been impressed with his boxing, and he's a resilient guy. We shall find out when the cage door closes. But I got a good feeling Tanner Bozier's pulling this one out. Guys, it's time to jump to the lock of the week. Matheus Nicolau, lock of the week. I think he's beaten Raw Dog Brandon Royval. I think he's Raw Dog and Royval. Minus 210, Nicolau. Under 2.5, minus 115. Sub, plus 650. I see this matchup in my head, and I see counter strikes by Nicolau landing. Royval is too reckless. He will get caught, and if they go to the ground, there's a legitimate chance he's submitted here. I like Nicolau a lot. I think he's closing in on a title fight with this win. Royval is a fun prospect, dangerous fighter, unorthodox, but I think that he falls into Nicolau's counter-striking game by getting over-aggressive. You can find shots on him, and I think that Nicolau does just that, and the jiu-jitsu can actually showcase, and he ends up getting a crazy sub, which is upwards of plus 650. Money line is minus 210, but I'll tell you something. Beyond all of it, sometimes the under or the over is the better play. I don't think this fight goes the distance. I think under 2.5 rounds at minus 115 is a dynamite attack. So give me a double thumbs up on that one. Yeah, I like that under 2.5 a ton. Guys, I do want to talk a little bit about the props / value bets. And then we'll do parlays. But first, let's bring it up here. So as far as like the prop value bet section, I'm not loving a lot of it. I have 2. Pierre Rodriguez plus 110 to win over Jillian Robertson. But it's iffy, right? I don't feel overjoyed by that. But the next one, which I'm going to bring up, I feel as though you guys might be a little bit more intrigued by, and that's Daniel Zellhuber. Close money. I was really close to including him in the most confident pick section. I'll tell you, I feel good about Zellhuber winning. He's the real value bet. The Pierre Rodriguez one, potential. This is the main one that I was looking forward to talking about here. Zellhuber at minus 120 range, I think he beats Lando. And I think it probably goes distance over 2.5, minus 190. I just see Zellhuber's range in the kickboxing as a threat to Lando Venata. I don't feel as though Lando's going to be able to just take him down easily and control him. I think he'll be forced to strike, and he's dealing with a guy who's much longer. And note that Lando most recently has been at 145 pounds. He's now jumping up to 55, and he's fighting a dangerous prospect. I got to say, I'm feeling good about the side of Zellhuber. So that really is the value bet to consider this week. I think that's the one. Close money, confident pick, dangerous prospect. That's a money value bet. I think it's a great play. It's a high confidence ride for me. Let's jump to best fight odds. And let's talk about some parlays. Let's see. What is the parlay of the week? I think that I have a decent idea for something that we can concoct with, I think, high likelihood. I don't know. You're probably going to sweat either way, but, you know, maybe you're not pouring with sweat here. Okay, the Garcia and Guida fight. Over 2.5, I feel great about. Minus 210. Looking towards adding a money line attack. I want to leave the lock out of it. Chris Gutierrez, minus 200. It's plus 120, so it's not jumping up and down with joy, big plus money. But tell me, what are the odds this doesn't cash, right? I feel like it's less of a chance it doesn't cash. I'd be surprised if this doesn't hit. This would be the real $100 parlay. If I'm going to throw down at something that I'm like, yeah, I feel good about this one. I think Guida and Garcia are going over, and I think Chris Gutierrez is going to win. I'm attacking this line hard. I love the chances of it. I will add on top of this line because out of everything, I feel as though this is the best play. Now, if you're looking for the value side of things, you add in a Zellhuber, brings you to nearly plus 300. But if you more want to keep it, I'd say, confident-sided, you could potentially add in a Nicolau, plus 230. He's in a dogfight with Royval. You will sweat in that fight. Something to note. I'm looking at maybe throwing Max Holloway in the slate and just riding with the guy. I think also over 4.5. If you're unsure on a pick, but you think it's going long, which I do, plus 292. But I'll tell you something. This feels the best to me. I'll try to create, you know, one of those crazy, wild value plays for you. But I feel as though this plus 120 is A1. We'll add Algio to the slate. I think he's got a good shot to win. We'll add Zellhuber to the slate. We're sitting in now that plus 500 range. I do have Denise Gomez as the dog, but I don't know if I'm going to be throwing that on the parlay unless we're getting fucking ballistic over here. Over 2.5 rounds in this ladies fight here brings us to plus 719. I think we got to add in the OG, Zach Cummings, to bring us in that 4-digit range. We got 2 over 2.5s. We got Guida Garcia over. We got Edwards Pudilova over, Gutierrez, Algio, Zellhuber, and Zach Cummings for that plus 1,000 money. I think it's a smart way to play it. All right, let's throw a women's over in. This one's close money. It's probably going to happen, though. Plus 2,116. We're going fucking crazy here. Not necessarily recommending any of you savages go out and play this, but if you are looking for lottery tickets, you know, we got to shoot them. Tanner Bozier could be a good lineup play. And we'll finish it out with the value-based parlay. We'll try to get some dog money on it. Let's go with Edson Barboza, Tanner Bozier. Let's also add in the over 2.5 in this fight here at minus 210. And let's add in Chris Gutierrez, minus 200, plus 1,115. And then if we added in Nicolau as well, plus 1,706 with value. Big plus money, but, you know, it's obviously a lot more risky than the ones we talked about earlier. That first one I listed off is A1. I think that's an A1 play. Garcia, Guida over, and then just money line with the side of Chris Gutierrez. Guys, I hope you enjoyed another episode of this week's Best MMA Bets. Definitely let me know in the comments what is your guys' lock of the week. The locks have been kicking my ass. I come up with the excuse that I'm dropping them on Monday, and maybe that truly is the reason, but I do feel as though I can come through the fire this week and start getting back on a good little streak, getting the confidence back, getting back in my zone. Last week was rough, but Matthias Nicolau, I think, is next up as a flyweight contender, so I'm going to ride with him. That's where my belief is going to stay. Thank you all for tuning into the show. Much love to everybody watching. Smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe. If you got nothing to say in the comments, just drop a W in the chat to boost that algorithm. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.